Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on any purchase over $10. See the description below for details. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and today we have a look at a few more Ravnica Allegiance preview cards. And we found out what the Simic mechanic is today. We'll be discussing that. Also got to look at a couple more Simic cards and a very powerful Rakdos card. Quickly before we get started though, just a fast reminder, if you check out the description below, you'll find a few ways to support us. Our Patreon page is down there. You'll also find links to products on Amazon, including Ravnica Allegiance. And finally, Flipside Gaming, of course, still offering a promo code for our viewers. Those details are down there too. Without any further ado though, let's get into today's information. We did get our first look at the Simic pre-release packaging. You see that on the screen here. Let's move on to the cards with their homunculus. This is a homunculus mutant. It's going to cost a blue, a green, and 1, common, flying, 2/3, and it has the adapt mechanic. Blue, green, and 2, adapt 1. So what does that mean? If this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Let's talk about the mechanic first, then we'll discuss the card a little more. A lot of people are a little disappointed by the mechanic. They don't feel that it's super Simic. It's just very similar to Monstrosity, which we've seen before. There are differences, obviously, but it has that feel to it. But I think gameplay-wise, there's a lot of potential in a mechanic like this. Couple things to point out logistically first. This one says adapt 1, so that means when I pay the cost, I get 1+1+1 counter. There are other adapt numbers. We're going to see one in just a few moments. So the next card we're going to look at is an adapt 4, as a matter of fact. In that case, you pay a price, you get 4+1+1 counters. So that number could vary. Secondly, you can do this basically at instant speed, so you can do this in combat. It makes combat more difficult. But the problem is, if this creature has no +1/+1 counters on it, you can do it. But if it does have a +1/+1 counter, you can't. And you know there's going to be a lot of ways in Simic to give everything a +1/+1 counter. So that could turn off, potentially, this ability some of the time. And that's a little bit awkward. But something it has up on Monstrosity is it doesn't have the memory. So if I do use this once and then the counter gets removed, maybe I take the counter off for some other ability or something on a different card, then I can go ahead and do it again, which does create perhaps a loop if I have enough mana. That's kind of interesting, especially for maybe Commander or something along those lines. Obviously, you might want to try a lot of these Simic cards out in an Atraxa build or something like that. But aside from that, what does it do in Standard? I do think this is a card that's not going to blow off the doors in Standard or anything like that. This is a real simple common that's really showcasing the mechanic. But in Limited, I like this. I mean, I'll play this as a common all day long and be happy with it. Maybe in a draft, I'll pick it up in the middle of a pack, and it will be a playable for me. 2/3 flyer for 3, which potentially on the fly can become a 3/4 flyer. That's not bad. Also, it kind of feels like an installment plan. A lot of times, Monstrosity felt like that too. I pay 3, and the next turn, I pay the 4, and I just get a larger creature out of the deal. Ultimately, I think this is going to be a good limited card for you, despite how a lot of people might feel about the actual mechanic itself. Okay, here's a rare. Zegana, Utopian Speaker. Blue, green, and 2, legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard 4/4. When this enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card. Adapt 4 for blue, green, and 4, and also each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. Okay, there's a lot going on here for 4 mana. Again, whether you like Adapt or you don't like Adapt, you can't argue that this is a pretty packed card. There's a lot of stuff it's doing. So, 4 casting costs, 4/4 creature that some of the time replaces itself. Now, not all the time, but if you're in Simic colors, there's a chance you could have something else with a +1/+1 counter on it. In this set, I don't think that's going to be too much of a stretch. And then it does replace itself when you play it for 4. That's kind of awesome. And then on top of that, each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it, including potentially this one at some point, will have trample. And then you throw that Adapt 4 on there too, which again, in the middle of combat, is going to make people think, are they going to actually go ahead and pay that mana now? Or are they going to try to cast something else? It makes your opponent make some tough combat decisions, definitely. So I do like that you can do that at instant speed just in the middle of combat. I think that's really good, especially when you're talking Adapt 4, which will also turn on the trample. That is a pretty big swing. So ultimately, does this card see Standard play? I think it has a chance because of Merfolk. This is a Merfolk, it's in those colors, and we have seen that the Merfolk deck, it almost got there at one point. It didn't quite get there, but it almost got there. And that was back when there were more cards in the environment. So now that we have a more narrow environment and we're getting more support for Merfolk, more support for +1/+1 counters, there's a chance that that deck could get there. If it does, then this will see play, I have no doubt. This will be great in Commander too in the right builds, not only Atraxa, which I mentioned earlier, but also Merfolk Tribal. A lot of people were building Merfolk Tribal builds back when the Ixalan block was coming out. Here's another card for those builds, and I'm sure we'll see more as time goes on too from this set. Draft and Seal, this thing's going to be a powerhouse. You're going to do a lot with this for 4 mana. There's just so much packed into it. And even if you're not playing Simic colors, like I could see playing Gruul and splashing some blue for something like this because it does adapt well. See what I did there? And that's the brilliance of these Ravnica sets when they are designed well. Okay, now that we went through all the Simic stuff, let's take a look at this Rakdos card. It came to us in the form of a French language preview card. Loosely translated, we believe it's called Anguish or something along those lines. 2 black and red, instant, destroy target artifact, creature, or planeswalker. This one is a rare. Alright, where do I begin here? Another very strong removal card. I mean, we saw Assassin's Trophy recently. That didn't break any formats. I don't think this will either, but it's very economical. Yes, it is a little demanding when it comes to color requirements, 2 black and red, but look at what this does at instant speed. Destroy target creature. You could stop there and you got me, but I have the flexibility in a pinch to use this on a planeswalker or artifact instead. Yeah, this is phenomenal. This will see standard play. If you're in these colors, you're going to want to play this card. It's going to be premium removal for you. It does an exile, so it won't necessarily replace all your copies of Vraska's Contempt, but that's okay. I do think this will cross over into Modern in some builds even, and it's a great Commander card. This is going to be awesome in Limited, first pickable in a draft all day long. It is a gold card, but I'm okay first picking this. I'll just go ahead and try to cut black, and if I have to splash for red, I'll splash for red. This is the kind of premium removal you want in your sealed or your draft pools for sure. This card is really pushed. Well, that's what we got for today. Going back to Adapt for a moment, my personal thoughts, I was really hoping for something a little more creative coming from Simic, more so than just a rehashed version of Monstrosity, but ultimately, I do think it's a good mechanic. I think it will be fun. I think the power level's there, so I can't be too upset about it. Maybe a little disappointed, but not upset about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, not only on the mechanic, but anything we talked about today. Until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page, as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.